Huh? So you join. Okay, so I'll give some time. So within 5 minutes, you need to join. Don't delay. Okay. So you should not join whenever you want.
Yes.
Okay. So try to maintain the time.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Hmm. Don't join whenever you want. So I'll give some 5 minutes time. So at that time, only you have to join.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So next, a flow of execution. Okay. So how exactly whenever you have a function in your program, right? Using you have written a program which has many functions, right? So how exactly the flow of execution will happen, right? So we'll see. In order to ensure that the function is defined before its first use, you have to know the order in which the statements are executed. Okay, so the flow of execution definition, or the flow of execution means in what order the functions will execute. Okay, so you need to know the order in which the statements within the function, the statements will execute. So that means if you have a three functions, right? In the lab program we have seen. So we have written a program with three functions, right? And then we are calling the print disarium. So print disarium will be called first. So since it is in the first line in your the interpreter, so that will be called, that is first level of indentation. It is the first level in the indentation interpreter, so that will be called. Then it will go to print disarium. Within that you are calling sum of digits. Sum of digits, it will go within the sum of digits, you are having the calculate line. Okay, so that is how the flow of execution, right? So you need to know the order of execution. Then only you can understand the program easily, and the interpreter also will follow the same flow of execution. So execution always begins at the first statement of a program, right? So when you have the statement, first statement, so it starts executing, right? So if you have a function, then obviously the you need to call the function, then only it will go to the function definition and it will execute. Okay, if it is normal statements, it will start executing from the first statement. That's how it will happen, right? So statements are executed one at a time in order from the top to bottom. Okay. So function definitions do not alter the flow of execution. As you know that the function definitions will not alter the flow of execution, right? But remember that the statement inside the function are not executed until the function is called. So this is the basic uh, criteria for any function to execute, right? As whenever you call a function, particular function, right, then only it will go inside the function, it will execute the set of statement. Okay, until and unless you will not call, the function will not be executed, the definition will not execute. Yes or no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So instead of going to the next, the flow will jump to the body of the function, execute the statements there. Okay, that is the same thing whatever I have explained. All right. So it is the same whatever I have explained. So it is written in different lines, right? So in the middle of one function, the program might have to execute the statements in another function. So this we have seen already in the lab program. So whenever you have a function, right? So some statements are there in the function, right? So in the middle of one function, the program might have to execute the statements in another function. So in print disarium, right? So if you remember the lab program, in print disarium, so first we have some statement, then we will be calling which function, calculate length function. Okay. So whenever the function call comes there, so it will go there and it will execute. Okay. While executing new function, the program might have to execute at another function. So because you have called, so obviously it has to go and execute that function and it has to come back. Okay. And the Python fortunately, the Python will have a good at keep tracking of where it is. Okay, so each time a function completes, the program picks up where it left off in the function that is called. That means, so Python interpreter will keep track of all the functions, whatever you are writing in the program. Okay, so how many functions are there? So when you are going to execute, when you have called, right? So the total number of functions and the set of statements. So all these things will be taken care by the Python interpreter. Okay. So when it gets to the end of the program, it terminates. When you read a program, then you don't always want to read from top to bottom. Okay. So this is about the flow of execution, right? So yes, any doubt? That is how exactly the flow of execution happens in the program in Python. If you have any functions, right? So how exactly you need to know the flow of execution. Then only you can able to understand the code, how exactly it is working, right? So if the flow is not correct and if you're not able to follow the correct flow, then you might lead to wrong results, or you will be getting the errors, right? So the flow of execution will play an important role. Okay. So next, we will move on to the next topic: scope and lifetime of variables. I think you uh, this topic, this concept you have studied in C language also. Yes or no? Scope and lifetime of a variable. You have heard global variables and local variables. Yes. Can you tell me what are local and global variables? Anyone? Yes. I want the answers from your end. So whoever knows, you just tell me the answers. Local and global variables. Already you have studied. Yes.
Sir, local variables can be accessed within the program, sir, within the function.
Okay.
Global variable can be accessed through entire program, sir, wherever we can.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, it is exactly correct. So local variables will be uh, accessed or the lifetime. Okay, you can call it as a lifetime of that variable or scope of that variable. Okay, is within the particular function. Whenever, so suppose the variable name A. Okay, A is I'm declaring in a or using in a some function, add function, addition function. Okay, so that is local. A variable is local to addition. Okay? You cannot use that variable outside the other function, outside the add function. Okay, if you have a multiplication, division, or any other functions, right? You cannot use that. You can use that variable name, but the value whatever you are assigning for that variable will be limited to that particular function itself. You can make use of the same variable name. You can make use of the same variable in different functions, but the scope, what you call it as a scope, the value will exist within the particular function. Okay, so once you come out, then it will not be accessed with that particular value, right? So as you know that, so there are two scopes, right? Basically, one is local and other is a global, right? So a variable that is defined inside a function is a local, as you know, and lifetime of variable refers to the duration of its existence. Okay, so lifetime is nothing but how long the variable will exist. Okay, the duration uh, is called as a lifetime of a variable. Okay, and a global variable. So as you know that, so these global variables will be declared or are defined before the program starts, or before the program in the sense before the main function in C language? Yes or no? Before the main function, right? So here also in the Python, if you are declaring at the first in the beginning itself, so that will be act as a global variables. Okay, a variable value which is accessible and modifiable throughout the program. Okay, so the value of the variable, global variable, can be accessible, can be used throughout the program. You can use it in addition function, subtract function, multiplication, as well as in division. If you have four functions, so you can use wherever you want. Okay, the value will be used. The same value will be, the global variable can be accessed, and you can also modifiable throughout your program, and you can modify the value also, right? Fine. So this is about local and global variables, right? So we'll see an example program, right? So which uses local and global variables, right? So here is some simple sorry, simple example which shows the global and local variables with the value, particular value. Okay, so here I am using a variable called as test variable. The variable name is same in all the different functions, but the value I am assigning a different value for that. Okay, so test variable is equal to 5. Initially, I am assigning. Okay, so as we have defined outside all the different functions, so it will act as this will act as a uh, global variable. Right? So it is a global variable. Right? So next, I'll write one function, right? Outer function. I am going to write a outer function, df outer function, then test variable, right, is equal to 50. Now the test variable will act as, is it global or local variable? This test variable is what now? Just tell me.
Local.
Local to the outer function. Okay, local to the outer function. So it is a local variable to the outer function because it is defined within the outer function. Okay. So then I'm assigning the test variable is equal to 50. Next, I have one more function, define inner function, right? So one more function I'm going to define within outer. Okay, function within another function, you can write it. That is possible, right? So then test variable is equal to 100. Again, this is another local variable, which is local to the inner function, Okay. So then I'm going to print the value, each value. So print local variable value having a local scope to inner function. So the scope of this 100 test variable is equal to 100 is limited to the inner function. Okay. So if I print a test variable, right, I am going to print a test variable, so I will be getting 100, right? This is the print statement within the inner function, right? I'm assigning 100 and I am printing. Next, what I will do is I will call this function, inner function. I'll be calling the inner function, right? This is function call. These are function definitions. As you know that these are the function definitions. Right? This is also function definition. This is also function definition, right? And this is the function call. Okay, this is the function call. So I'm calling inner function. So once I call inner function, it will go here. It will execute the statement. So test variable 100 and print statement. So 100 will be printed. Next, one more print statement, local variable value having local scope to outer function. Okay, so I am writing this print within an outer function, and I am going to display the value of test variable. Okay, then after that I will be calling the function call of outer function. This is inner function call of inner function, and this is the function call of outer function. And after this, it will go here, outer function, it will make test variable 50, and the corresponding print statement will execute. Okay. Then at the end, print global variable value I need to print, that is there in the top. So global variable having global scope is equals to test variable. So we'll execute this program, the Jupyter notebook, right? So so what is the expected output? Can anyone tell me expected output? Yes. What will be the expected output? Is there already the program which I have run? Okay, test variable is equal to 5, then outer function 50, inner function 100. I'm assigning, and I am calling the respective functions, right? So if I run this program, right? So first, the local inner function that will be called. So local variable value having local scope, that is 100. This will be printed out. Next, local variable value having local scope to outer function. So you are calling the outer function that will be called, right? Then the global variable value having the global scope. Yes, any doubt in this? Yes, any doubt? So here, which statement is executing here first? Yes, any questions? Whether you were able to understand the program or any questions?
Inner function will get to execute.
Inner function?
Get execute.
Yeah. Inner function will execute first, then
Then
outer,
global function. Then outer,
global,
then global.
and then global. Okay, so that's the according to that. So we'll be having the outputs. Okay. So fine. So we'll move to the. So this is the output. Okay, 150 and 5. Right. And so we'll move to the next topic, the important topic in first unit. So default parameters. So default parameters, right? So you know that the parameters are nothing but the arguments or parameters which you are passing to the function, right? So default, as the name itself says, default, the value will be fixed or it is assigned already. Okay, so in some situation it is useful to set the default value to the parameters of the function definition. Okay, so in some situations, right, or in some so the program requirement is such a way that the value has to be set default. Okay, so I don't want the other values, right? So I want the fixed value, that value only I want to use. So at that time you can fix those values, right? So those parameters are called as the default parameters, right? Value which you are assigning. You are setting the values to the parameters of a function, right? So those are called as the default parameter. We'll see how exactly in the program example. So each default parameter has a default value. Okay, so each default parameter will have its default value as a part of the function definition, right? So whenever you have a function definition, at that time only you are mentioning the default value, right? Any calling function must provide arguments for all the required parameters in the function definition, but can omit the arguments for the default parameters. Okay, so in any function, whenever you call a function, right, so you're supposed to pass the value for a particular function, right? So suppose I have a function which takes two parameters, right? The first one is the actual parameter and the second one is default, right? So for the actual parameter, you have to pass the value, but for a default, you can omit. Okay, you can leave, or you can if you're not passing also, it will take the whichever is default value is there. Okay, so we'll see how exactly it has to be written, right? If no argument is sent for that particular parameter, then the default value. Okay, so if you are not passing a value for a parameter, then the default value will be taken into consideration. And how exactly? So usually the default parameters are defined at the end of the parameter list. Okay, suppose you have 3 parameters for a function, right? So among 3, I have one default parameter. That means the default parameter should be at the end. Suppose a comma b comma c, right? So c is a default parameter. C is equal to some value. C is equal to 1 or 2. So that should be at the end of a parameter list. Okay. After any required parameters, and non-default parameter cannot follow the default. Okay. So that means default parameter should be at the end. It should not be at the beginning. That is the meaning of this line. Okay. And default value will be evaluated only once. Okay, so only one time the values will be evaluated. So whatever the value is there, that will be assigned or used. We will see how exactly the default parameters is going to be written. Okay, so I have a function greet. Greet is a function. Okay, df greet I am defining. So name. The first parameter is name, comma, second parameter is message, that is MSG. The name of the variable is MSG. Equal to, I am assigning some string to this message. So good morning, I am assigning. Okay. So as you see, so this is how you have to give the value for the default parameter. Okay. So here the default parameter is MSG. MSG is a default parameter. Is a default parameter. Okay. Right. So this is the comment line, just for your understanding, right? So after that, print hello. Okay. So I need to print hello, then comma name. Name I need to print, then concatenation plus I need to have a comma. I need to add a comma for this thing. So for that I'm writing like this, okay, within the single quote, then plus another string I need to append. Okay, that is message, right? So after this is the function definition. Till here it is function definition. In the function definition I have only one, that is print statement, right? So this is the function call. This is a function call, right? So I'll be calling the function by passing some string as a parameter. So greet, and the parameter value I am passing as Kate. Okay, there are some names. So you know that there are two parameters. One is name and other is message. Okay, so I am only passing the name of the I am passing the value for the name. So value is the Kate. Okay. So once it is once it is called, so it will go here. Okay. So then name will be replaced with the whatever you are passing value. So Kate, and message will be as you have the default value. This is the default value for a message, good morning. Okay, so once print executes, so hello, first hello will be displayed, it is there in the print statement, then name followed by a name. So what is the name value? Kate. So hello Kate, then you need to have a comma. So for that I'm mentioning the comma here, okay, plus. So whenever you want to append the string, so you need to have a plus operator, right? So then only you can append it. So then after that I need to append a message. So plus message. So what is the message value? Good morning. So the output will be hello Kate, good morning. Okay. Similarly, I am having one more function call. Okay, this is first function call. Okay. Similarly, I have a second function call. Right. So greet of name I am passing as a Bruce, and the message is how do you do. Okay. So now I am passing the values for both the parameter. This is the first parameter, that is called as a required parameter, and the default parameter. Required is Bruce, and the default I am passing as how do you do. Right. So my output will be print hello. So name will be replaced with the name whatever you are mentioning here. So hello Bruce, comma, and the message also I am passing. I don't want the default value. Okay. So I want my own string whatever I am passing here, so that also possible. So here I am passing the messages how do you do. So this will be printed out instead of the default. Whenever you pass the value for a default, that will be taken into consideration. So hello Bruce, how do you do. That is the output. Yes, any doubt in this simple example which uses a default parameter? Because in the next you need to understand this clearly, so you will be using this concept, default parameter.
Sir, why do you use the plus, sir?
Yeah, I told no, plus is basically to append a value, append a toString, right? So suppose I have the first string as here dr, okay, the first string is dr, and for this I need to assign AIT, right? So if I want to if I want to append AIT to this string, so obviously I need to have a plus sign, right? Already we have seen in the last class. So whenever you add a toString, right? Suppose s1 is equal to dr, okay, which is a string, and one more s2 is equal to AIT, which is also a string, right? So if I do s1 plus s2, so what will be the output?
Dr. AIT.
Dr. AIT.
Yes. So this we have seen. If I apply a plus operator on toString, so the result will be concatenation. Right? So that's what we are doing here. It is similar to adding the two strings. Adding a toString means it will do the concatenation. So first I want to print hello, right? So for that I need to append or add name. What is name? Hello is printed as it is, because it is there in the print. So whatever you mention in the print, that will be printed. Okay.
Yes.
Then name. Okay. So name is what? Name is Kate. So that will be printed. Then after that, I need to add or append comma. So in order to append a comma, so plus operator is used. Okay. Then after that, another message or a string I need to append. So plus message MSG, good morning. Okay. So this is simple. The concatenation will happen. Nothing. So if you use a plus, so the concatenation of the string will be done. Okay. So the explanation of the example, right?
Sir, what is the difference between parameter and argument?
Parameter and argument, both one and the same. Only So sometimes we will be calling it as a parameter and sometimes we will be calling it as argument. It is both one and the same. Argument is same as parameter. The name, different names, that's it. Okay. Parameter and name is same. Sorry, argument and parameters are same. You can call by the name or you can call by the name argument or the parameter. Both are one and the same. Okay. So sometimes we'll see non-default argument cannot. Okay. So we have one condition in the default. Whenever you are writing a default parameters for a function, right? Non-default arguments cannot follow default arguments. Okay. For example, so we'll see. So suppose def function greet message equal to good morning, comma name. Okay, so if this is the first one is default or default argument or actual argument. Message equal to good morning and name. The message is a default because I am assigning the value. How the interpreter will understand the default parameter if it is assigned a value in the function definition. Okay, so if in the function definition in the parameter itself, if you are assigning a value, then it is a default. Okay, so the rule is the default parameter should come after the actual parameter. In this case, the default parameter is at the beginning, the first, and actual parameter is in the second. So in this situation, we are going to get an error message. Okay, so we'll get syntax error. Okay, what is the error message it is showing? Non-default argument follows the default. Okay, so that means first you need to have the non-default, then you should have the default. Okay, so this is the correct position. Okay, first you should have the non-default, that is called as actual parameter also, and then default. So if you are mentioning the default, then it is not correct and it will lead to an error. Okay, right. So the next arguments are the parameters which we have is keyword arguments or keyword parameters. You can call it as by any name. So keyword arguments, right? So how exactly the keyword arguments are written, we will see, right? So whenever we call a function with some values, right, the values will get assigned to the arguments, according to their position, right? For example, in the above function greet, whenever we call a function greet, right, so we are passing the value, right? The value, the Bruce will be assigned to the name, and how do you do will be assigned to the message, right? So Python will allows the function to be called using the keyword arguments, right? So that means when we call a function in this way, the order of the arguments, the position of the arguments can be changed. Okay, so here just whenever you just pass the value like this, so sometimes what happens, so Bruce will be copied to the second parameter, that is message, and how do you do? Sometimes it will happen. So suppose if you have more parameters at that time, so there is a chance to exchange the parameter values. So in order to avoid that, we are going for keyword arguments. Okay, so the order of the arguments can be changed. So following calls to the above functions are valid and produce the same result. So we'll see how exactly the keyword arguments. Okay, keyword. So I am writing a 2 keyword arguments. Okay, so for the same function greet, name equal to Bruce and message equal to how do you do. So that means keyword arguments are nothing but assigning the values for a function parameter. Okay, whenever you are calling a function, right? So you need to assign the value for all the parameters. So name also I am passing, name is equal to Bruce and message equal to how do you do. Okay. So these are called as keyworded arguments. So you are assigning the value as well as with the variable name. So in the next second case, greet message equal to, first I am assigning the I am having the message, then I am having the name. Okay. And if you come to the third, right? If you come to third here, so greet, first I am passing the name, okay, Bruce, and second message. Okay, so here the first one is the positional parameter. Okay, positional are the actual. So for a particular, so if you see the function definition, first is the name and second is message, right? First is the name and second is a message. As you have seen here, first is the name and second is a message. So according to that, I am passing name as a Bruce and second is message. For that, I am passing the. So this kind of function calling which I am passing here is one is a positional value and one is a keyword argument. Positional parameter and one is a keyword parameter or a keyword argument. Okay, so we can mix the positional arguments with the keyword arguments during the function call, but we must keep in mind that the keyword arguments must follow the positional arguments. So as we have seen, so first you need to have the positional, then you need to have the keyworded argument. Okay, so having positional argument after a keyword arguments will result into error. So positional argument should be first and keyword argument should come in the second. Okay, so for example, the function call name is equal to Bruce and how do you do. Okay, this will result into a error. This will result into an error. Okay, so why? Because non-keyword argument after keyword argument. The error is because how do you do is a yes. Why I am getting the error here? So first you should have the positional, then you should have the keyworded arguments. Okay, so here I am mentioning keyworded first, then positional. So that's why it is resulting into an error. So I will execute this programs and you can understand it here. Okay, so before that, I will execute the default. So don't mix up the default with the keyworded arguments. So understand separately. Okay, so don't mix up the default and the keyworded. We will see keyworded is nothing but it is simply you are assigning the values for both the parameters. That is keyworded. Okay, whereas in case of the default, you are having the value for one and one will be actual. So I will execute the program.
Sir, sorry for disturbing. Actually, can you please execute the program
Yeah,
on Monday? Actually,
Monday.
we got this code. He is
Okay.
telling us to join.
Okay, you have a class.
Yes, sir. We have DLD class now. Actually, yesterday also she was asking why we were late.
Right. Okay, no problem. So I will execute these programs in the next class. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
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 Okay, fine.
Thank you, sir.